The life of Nami. Origin story. Yeah, okay, so I know you're probably wondering, how did Nami go from this to this? Was it puberty? Was it chugging gallons of milk on that sky island? Well, if you're wondering, you're at the right place. Welcome to Bahanime, and today we'll be talking about Nami. But before we get into Nami's life story, we've got to start at the beginning. Nami's backstory, much like most of the Strawhats crew, is a pretty tragic one. She's an orphan, and as a baby, she was found by a little girl called Nojiko. Shortly after, she was found by a female marine who had been heavily injured in battle. Her name was Bell-mère. Bell-mère, being the saint that she is, took in Nami and Nojiko, saving them from the ruin and the bloodshed. After the three returned to Bell-mère's village Cocoyasi, where she adopted them and they began their new life as a family. Nami has always had a love for cartography since she was a wee little lass. She loved drawing maps and navigating, and her dream was to complete a map of the world. But Bell-mère wasn't exactly rolling in berry, and all she could afford for them were the bare necessities. This meant that Nami couldn't afford the navigation books she always wanted, which led her down a life of crime. Nami would steal from the village bookshop, and one day, Bell-mère scolded her for it when she got caught. I mean, stealing is pretty reprehensible, but Bell-mère understood Nami's passion and couldn't help but applaud Nami's first drawing of the island as the first step to her dream. She put faith in her and told her she could really pull it off. We stand a supportive adopted mommy. What's that? She's gonna live through the backstory, right? She's gonna live through the backstory, right? Over time, the family's poverty only got worse. Bell-mère took care of the family by selling micans, but the price of the fruit began to fall due to a large supply. Bell-mère had to eat the fruit and give most of the actual food to Nami and Nojiko without letting the two know how dire their situation had gotten. Not only did this poverty cause an awful diet, it also led to the most heartbreaking interaction Nami ever had with her adopted family. One day, Nami was given one of Nojiko's dresses by Bell-mère, who tried to make it look new. By that I mean she turned the sunflower into a lion. It was very cute, but Nami was offended because she wanted her own clothes and not Nojiko's hand-me-downs. This caused an argument between her and Nojiko, during which Nami said that she didn't consider Nojiko a true sister, and Bell-mère smacked her across the face for it. But the little girl doubled down though and told Bell-mère that she was not her mother and that she would have been better off if she didn't have her and Nojiko to take care of, adding that she wishes she'd been adopted by a richer family. Damn. Bell-mère then told her that if she hated their home so much, she was free to go, leave. So Nami left. She ran away from home. Even though Nami was able to get far away, no, not too far, she kind of just ran down the street from her adopted mother, nothing could prepare her and her family for the awful oppression that was coming their way. Eventually, Nami met up with this guy named Genzo and told him that she ran away from home. Genzo went on to reveal the backstory of Bell-mère and how she came to adopt Nami in the first place. See, back in the day, Bell-mère had a bit of a reputation. She was pretty much seen as the ruffian around those parts. It was a rough one. Nobody believed she could turn her life around until she joined the Navy, found Nami and Nojiko, braved a massive storm to get the two kids back to safety, and proceeded to take care of them for years. After hearing everything, Nojiko came and told Nami, let's go home. Bell-mère is waiting for us with some yummy supper. But just as the story was about to have a happy ending, the Arlong pirates attacked. A crew of fishmen led by their big boss, Arlong. The island and Cocoyasi village were under attack. Nami and Nojiko hid in some trees, watching the pirates collect tribute from every adult and child. 100,000 berry per adult and 50,000 berry per child. If you couldn't pay up, you'd be executed. At the rate things were going, the villagers expected to have to pay these hefty sums every single month, a price not everyone could afford, especially Bell-mère. Luckily, the pirates hadn't noticed Bell-mère's house yet, because it was out in the outskirts of the town. That is until they saw the smoke coming out of her chimney from the supper Bell-mère was lovingly preparing for her children. The Arlong pirates met a bit of stiff resistance when they finally got to Bell-mère though. She was no pushover, but Arlong is an absolute beast and he freaking ate the gun she was pointing at him, and then he took her down with absolutely no problem, proceeding to stomp the living daylight out of her arm, shattering it. Brutal. The two girls ran to help their mother, but they were intercepted by this guy, Nakulus, who told them that the Arlong pirates had no proof that Bell-mère was their mother, so they could just leave the island and ensure both their safety and the safety of Bell-mère, a solution the two girls begrudgingly accepted. That is until Bell-mère spilled the beans. She told Arlong that the 100,000 she paid was for her two daughters, knowing full well that the plan to save Nami and Nojiko would fail. She said that she would rather die than say that she wasn't their mom. A display of love so strong, Nami and Nojiko exposed themselves and ran towards her, hugging her. This got the village riled up as they brought out their arms to try and protect the family, but the fishermen pirates were too strong for the villagers, and Arlong executed Bell-mère in front of everybody. After which, they found out that Nami was a gifted cartographer, so the pirates kidnapped her and forced her to draw maps for them. Arlong is kind of an expletive. Arlong would go on to strike a deal with Nami. If she bought the village from him for 100 million berry, he would free her and everyone. Nami then returned to the village and revealed to the villagers that she had joined the Arlong pirates as a cartographer, telling them that if she's going to get killed living a proper life like Bell-mère, then she won't live a proper life at all. The villagers, well, they were pissed. They were so upset. They would have lynched the little girl there if she wasn't a little girl. But Nojiko did not hold back and attacked her after seeing the Arlong pirate's tattoo on her arm. The villagers then exiled Nami, telling her never to return to the village. Nami would later reveal her plan to buy the village back from the Arlong pirates to Nojiko alone, stating that if she asked the rest of the villagers for help, more people will just get hurt. Knowing full well she would have to be working with the people she hated the most, Nami decided to embark on this task solo and face whatever hardships were to come. And this she did, with a big fake smile plastered on her face. Nami spent the next 8 years making maps for Arlong and stealing treasure from the pirates she joined and betrayed, and hid it all in the orchard at Bell-mère's house, her childhood home. During her time working for Arlong, she managed to steal a map of the Grand Line from another pirate named Buggy, a guy with the ability to split himself into little pieces. After stealing from Buggy, she tricked some other pirates and stole their boat and the treasure as well. Eventually, Buggy's goons caught up with her, and as she was running away from the three of them, Monkey D. Luffy fell from the sky. Don't ask, he does that a lot. He falls in weird places a lot, okay? Anyway, this gave Nami an idea. She called Luffy boss and asked him to take care of the pirates chasing her. The pirates surrounded Luffy and one of them hit him on the head, knocking off his straw hat. Big mistake. This obviously pissed Luffy off and he beat the three of them up very easily. Nami was understandably impressed by his abilities and introduced herself as a thief who specialized in robbing pirates. She tried partnering with Luffy, but when she found out that he was a pirate, she turned on him and turned him into Buggy and pretended that he was her former boss. She tied Luffy up and gave him to Buggy, basically, who locked him up in a cage. Oh, but Nami wasn't done backstabbing just yet. She then pretended to join Buggy's crew so she could steal his gold as well. This worked perfectly until Buggy ordered her to kill Luffy to prove her loyalty to him. Nami's conscience got the best of her and she decided to save Luffy instead. She's not cold-blooded. She's got a heart. Fortunately, Zoro showed up just in time to save them both and he took Buggy on in a fight. Buggy's ability from his Barabara no Mi actually made him a pretty serious opponent for Zoro, especially since it made him pretty much invulnerable to swords. However, the three of them managed to escape by firing Buggy's cannon at Buggy and his crew. It was during their escape through Orange Town, warning from Buggy and his crew that Nami would learn just how caring Luffy actually is and how he's not like your average pirate. Eventually, the trio faced Buggy again, but Nami wasn't very interested in the battle. No, she began to sneak off to steal Buggy's treasure instead. Buggy noticed this and chased after her, only to be saved by Luffy again. At this point, it was time to wrap up this little fight. As Buggy separated his body parts again, preparing for another attack on Luffy, Nami stole some of them and tied them together, making him kind of vulnerable, right? This left Buggy with just his hands, feet, and head, and he was wailed on severely by Luffy. Nami gave Luffy the map of the Grand Line as she thanked him and agreed to partner up with him for the time being. Trio would go on even more adventures, recruiting more members of the Strawhats crew, Sanji and Usopp to be exact. But she still had something to do back at the Konomi Islands, as she was almost done gathering enough money to buy back her village. Now we get to the good part, the real meat and potatoes of the story. The part that had audiences doubting Nami's intention, and the time Luffy smashed a whole building with his foot. But hold up, let's not get ahead of ourselves, okay? Returning back to the Konomi Islands, things were a little bit tense between Nami and Arlong. She'd been gone for a while, and all of a sudden she was back with a bunch of random people. Not to mention the fact that Zoro didn't exactly trust her either. So she was caught in a bit of a dilemma. How would she keep up the ruse with the Arlong pirates long enough to buy back her village and not endanger the Straw Hats at the same time? Let me tell you, walking that tightrope was not easy for Nami. Like when Zoro was brought to Arlong Park and he found out about Nami's allegiance with the Arlong pirates. Zoro, looking to test Nami, threw himself in the water. Of course, she saved him because, you know, she's not as cold-blooded as Arlong keeps telling people. But Nami did have to give him a beating to reassure Arlong that she was still on his side. She also saves Zoro later on and helps him escape. Another time was when the fishmen captured Usopp and threatened to kill him, causing Usopp to ask Nami for help, of course. This once again made them very suspicious of her, so she had to do something. Usopp tried to escape using a Kemuriboshi, but Nami intercepted him and announced that she would kill Usopp herself. She then stabbed him, or at least made it look like she stabbed him, but she actually stabbed her own hand and kicked Usopp in the ocean. Hardcore. She then told Arlong that she'd killed him, and she was indeed one of the Arlong crew members. She lied, but you know, for a good reason. Nami would also run into Luffy and remind him that she only partnered with him for the treasure and that they all need to take their ship and leave the island. Of course, Luffy being Luffy, he refused. As all of this tightrope walking was going on, Nami visited her village, and we got to see how the villagers had been treating her all these years. They were not nice to her, not one bit. After all, she was a betrayer. The only people that treated her well were Nojiko and Genzo. Nami would go on to reveal to Nojiko that she actually enjoyed being part of the Straw Hat crew. I mean, who wouldn't? She also told her that she was almost finished accumulating Arlong's fee to buy back the village. However, things were about to turn sour. A group of marines led by a captain named Nezumi landed on the island. It was revealed that they had been bribed by Arlong for a long time to ignore his actions on the Konomi Islands. Nezumi had Genzo take him to Nami's house, where he accused her of hiding stolen money. Fair. Nami tried to stop them, but the marines found her treasure stash of 93 million berry she'd accumulated all these years. Genzo revealed to the marines that the money was for the repurchase of the town and admitted to pretty surprising Nami that he and the entire town always knew what she was doing when she joined the Arlong pirates. Which, I mean, okay, we'll leave the pin in that one. Just wondering why they didn't tell her. Tragically, that didn't dissuade the marines and they took the money by force and left. Nami ran back to Arlong and accused him of sending the marines to take her money. Arlong denied it and threatened Nami instead, claiming he never broke their deal, and told her that if she wanted her village back, she would just need to start from scratch. Back in the village, Genzo rallied the villagers to attack Arlong for going back on his deal. Afraid of more people dying, Nami tried to stop them from attacking, but she couldn't, and they just kept going. Everything had fallen apart. All her hard-earned, or should I say hard-stolen money was gone in the blink of an eye. And the villagers she'd been trying to protect from Arlong are now about to face his wrath. Feeling helpless, Nami collapsed to the ground and repeatedly stabbed herself in the arm where Arlong's tattoo was. That is until Luffy stopped her. Nami tearfully asked Luffy for help, and of course, he agreed. Luffy, Zoro, Usopp, and Sanji would finally fight the Arlong pirates, and what an insanely tough battle it was. Arlong always considered himself superior to all humans, but boy, did he get humbled in this fight. This fishman didn't stand a chance against the man that would become the Pirate King. I mean, hey, Arlong put up quite a fight. That is until Luffy found himself in Nami's room, where she had been forced under the threat of violence to draw maps for the Arlong pirates. Oof, that is when things got serious. Luffy absolutely wrecked the place. He broke this fishman's nose and took him down with one mighty Gomu Gomu no battle axe straight through the building, destroying the entire structure. Luffy rose from the rubble and shouted at the top of his voice, "Nami! Omae wa ore no nakama da!" And just like that, it touched her heart. She tearfully agreed and was now officially a member of the Straw Hat crew. Nami's village was freed. She had the doctor remove the Arlong pirate's tattoo and cover up the rest of her injury with a new tattoo. It was a tattoo of a pinwheel with a tangerine on it. It was after her guardians Bell-mère and Genzo. Nami spent her last night on Cocoyasi visiting her family home and making peace with her past, and almost as if she got a blessing from Bell-mère's spirit, encouraging her to begin her journey with the Straw Hat crew. She smiled and prepared to disembark. On her way out of the village, Nami wished to say goodbye to no one. She left all her treasure behind in Nojiko's house for the village and ran towards the Going Merry after stealing all of the villagers' wallets, of course. And just like that, they were off to sail on their next grand adventure. Hey, if you enjoyed this story about Nami delving into her past and all that, hey, leave a like, subscribe, comment what you think we should cover next, and see ya.